to speak with you today, Mick, and I'm looking forward to hearing your views today on the supply chain challenges of Omnichannel. Can you first provide a brief background of yourself?
Okay, so I'm the VP for Global Logistics and Supply Chain Strategy in Lenovo. I've spent the last 8 years, in Lenovo in a number of roles, from managing the logistics and sourcing and manufacturing operations, end-to-end supply chain ops, strategy, supply chain analytics. The last 18 months, I've been the business leader for the acquisition and the integration of the IBM X86 server business into Lenovo.
And what drives you? What makes you tick?
Okay, so what really drives me is, and continues to drive me, is the way that the supply chain and really all of the elements and the players in the supply chain are just accelerating towards change, or maybe change is accelerating towards them. Some of them willingly, some of them not, and all of them are having to face up to different panoramas in the very near future. This is going to be an amazing few years for supply chain, and I'm fascinated by the way that some of the key changes are going to significantly impact the players. And to me, Omnichannel is the result of one of those big key changes, the sort of change in consumer profile that we're seeing.
So what is Omnichannel?
All right, well, let me, for me, I've recognized Omnichannel for a number of years, and it's there as a word in the back of my mind. My real interest came from a recent panel I was on in Amsterdam that included a retailer, a 3PL, a logistics provider, and myself, a manufacturer. And we were talking about the progress and the status of Omnichannel. And the discussion became quite lively as we started to discuss the impact of Omnichannel on the end-to-end supply chain from each of our own perspective. So I won't give you a technical definition of Omnichannel. You can go away and look that up on Wikipedia. Instead, let me read you something I read on a blog recently. So it said, Omnichannel, the bottom line, the consumer wants what they want, when they want it. They want it where they want it, and at a price they want to buy it at. They want to buy it through any medium and delivered to any place. If you don't have it in stock, then you better make sure it gets to their house tomorrow morning or this afternoon, or they'll go and buy it from Amazon, who will have it with free shipping. And that's a great description. It shows the complexity of Omnichannel, and it shows the real competitiveness of the market. And it also shows the impact that Amazon has as a leader in the marketplace. So where Amazon go, others almost have to follow.
Well, why is Omnichannel so important to retailers and to the supply chain?
Okay, so it's a good question. Why are we all suddenly relentlessly moving down this Omnichannel track? So the growth of the internet, mobile technology, social media has started to increasingly fragment sales channels and create even more fragmented supply chain. And bricks and mortar retailers responded by developing a sort of multi-channel approach to retailing, retail and supply chain operations servicing different businesses running separately. Now we've got pretty tech-savvy consumers who are demanding a seamless, very integrated customer experience across all of the available shipping channels and a very consistent brand experience. They expect more. They're pretty vociferous about it on social media. And what that means is that those that want to compete are having to fundamentally change the way their businesses are managed, plus become completely customer-centric, with the absolute knowledge that one bad Twitter experience go viral in minutes globally. So firstly, I'd say there's been a touch of good old-fashioned technology-driven democracy in the value chain, where the consumer's driving the response and not just dealing with the outputs that retailers want to provide. So now if you want to interact with those consumers at a time and a place and on an interface of their choice, then you have no choice as a retailer. Secondly, online is where our customers now spend their time hanging out. A recent poll I saw said that 84% of consumers couldn't go a single day without their mobile device, and 76% have access to more than one connected device. And thirdly, there are new shopping habits. 29% of internet users in the US would buy everything online if they could, and 48% of all purchases in 2014 were impacted by the web in some way. And fourthly, and actually quite critically, in a recent report I read that identified why retailers are developing omni-channel solutions, the explanation was principally that it was in a response to simply compete, simply survive. And remember my early comment, where Amazon go, others have to follow. So of course there has to be a positive reason that counters that pure survival. But fifthly, it's really sales growth, and the sales growth through an ease of customer interaction, the ability to personalize and enhance customer service. In the past, retailers have increased their sales market and their sales opportunity by moving into new geographical marketplaces or products. Now they're doing the same on the electronic front line. And the true leaders in the market certainly are developing increased margins on their operations by improving availability, by reducing markdowns, and by extending ranges. So it is, there is a rationale behind what's going on.
So that obviously gives a number of challenges to the supply chain. Can you talk about some of the key challenges?
Okay, so we've talked about the change in the model, the way consumers are changing their behavior and driving difference, the way the likes of Amazon are driving competition to react and respond to their sprint forward. There are big changes, big challenges for all of us in the supply chain. So I just focus on 6 key challenges. Firstly, speed. The consumer's demanding shorter and shorter lead times from the retailer. That's often driven by what the disruptive market leaders, the Amazons of this world, are offering, not what the consumer is requesting. Shorter response time means more inventory needed closer to the point of sale, later configuration and finishing, smaller loads, lower vehicle fills, and impact on sustainability in the supply chain. 65% of global GDP will pretty soon be sitting in cities. So operational capabilities needed in more urban areas. The likes of Amazon need to start to set up their pretty eerily named dark stores to hold inventory and enable this 2-hour delivery and take returns in a lot of the major cities. So as we move towards same-day delivery, the e-com retailers start to compete again directly with the bricks and mortar retailers like Walmart. And Omnichannel takes yet another really strange twist. Second reason, traditionally organizations have been able to use a number of methods to shape demand to suit supply. By offering a 2-hour delivery, omni-channel organizations are creating a scenario where the consumer no longer sees a value judgment, whether they require the product quickly or not. So suddenly the ability to manage demand and hence manage flows within this fixed capacity disappears, and operational pressures drive operational costs upwards. Thirdly, our mega connected customers are getting far more choice. Offer one consumer a delivery during the advert break in Game of Thrones and it will come. And via social media, that becomes the norm for you and then for all of your competitors. We end up being forced to offer almost infinite choice to customers and an expectation of later and later cut-off times for orders. What that then means is, fourthly, we build up enormous complexity in our supply chain, but we struggle to pass that cost on to the rest of the chain. So just imagine the massive bullwhip impact of speed and choice on the rest of the upstream chain. Omni infects components, manufacturers, resellers, and logistics as they attempt to cope with the cost, the speed, and the inventory implications, probably with very, very little cost relief from other parts of the chain. But really, there are some small chinks of light that show that the major disruptors, the Amazons of this world, are having to find other avenues to charge the cost onto consumers. If you go onto some of the major players' websites, you'll see a number of things starting to happen. Next day cutoff times are becoming earlier and earlier, giving themselves more time to prepare. Delivery charges are creeping up. Minimum spends have been introduced. The free next day delivery for a fixed annual fee option, Prime, has been increasing in price dramatically very quickly. In some cases, it's nearly doubled in price. And some sites now feature a no rush option, where you get a future discount based on ticking a box that accepts that you don't need a next day delivery. So that there are instances where retailers are realizing that they have to pass the additional cost on to the consumer.
And so what do we need to do about it?
Okay, so giving the consumer the levels of choice we're now doing really does up the ante. So I think there are 7 things we can focus on. So number 1, somehow all of the players in this arena need to make sure that their back-end capabilities align with their front-end offering, and often that's a problem. Large parts of the back-end are typically outsourced to 3PLs. In some cases, that difference in what's needed against what's available is driving the larger retailers in the omnichannel market to develop their own in-house capability. So we need to focus on what we're offering to our customers and they're offering to their customers. Secondly, choice and the impact of next day is forcing us to look carefully at where we hold our inventory and how much and how accessible that is to the big centers of population. Cities become the new battlegrounds. Uber-type models for transport start to have a say, and city logistics propositions become once again because the action is in the city. Thirdly, our networks need to become more agile, more flexible. Optimization of the network becomes a biannual process, not a 5-yearly one. Investments need to pay back in less than 12 months and not less than 3 years. Fourthly, speed of fulfillment and the increase in customized range sizes demanded are going to force us to look carefully and critically at our forecasting and our demand strategy and the way in which we allocate orders. We have to start to increasingly rely on big data and analytics to give us improved forecasting and the ability to make more informed decisions about forecasting. Fifthly, the growth of 3D printing might give us some respite if we can print stuff close to the point of demand. It'll certainly significantly change spare parts supply chains. The one thing we're certainly going to have to do is to brush off our old concepts of near sourcing, late postponement, configure to order, downstream, in this attempt to resolve this conundrum of speed versus inventory. Sixth, I guess the Internet of Things will give us more intelligent demand sensing if we believe what we're told. Its downside is the 1,000 times increase in the data that we're going to be expected to handle on a daily basis. Certainly, we're going to be expected to offer improved, more granular, more dynamic, and probably more intelligent visibility of product and order status and location in our value chain. And I guess finally, the one area for me that becomes an absolutely essential, wherever we sit in the end-to-end value chain, is collaboration. We have to look at the impact driven by the consumer as an entire supply chain organism. With fairness and with trust, we need to share inventory information, share demand data, share networks, look collaboratively at problems and the issues and come up with joint solutions operationally and commercially. And that's traditionally something that our industry, the supply chain, is not very good at doing. So Omni, for me, is a disruptive force for us in the supply chain. It's an inevitable process. We either accept it or we get off the highway. And it is going to drive key changes in the way that we run our value chains. To me, this is all part of this really interesting supply chain revolution that's coming down the track to us all now. You either try to stop it, ouch, you jump out of the way, you opt out, or you try to run with it and run in front of it. And everybody needs good luck to do that.
Well, thank you, Mick, for sharing today.
It's a pleasure, an absolute pleasure.